usual running around. Welcome everyone, and I'm glad to be here to share my experiences with all of you, and I look forward to meeting all of you and discussing things further. Right, as you can see, today's conference, let me begin because the timekeeper will be keeping a tab on me. Right. One moment. Okay. That's my topic. Oops. You move it a little bit and it moves. Yeah, okay. All right, okay. So that's my topic. So it really coincides with what Prof. Miliani was talking about on ICT. And my topic is on, are educators, are you guys creating humanistic online learning environment? He talked about blended learning. So what we did was a few of us got together, including Zahira, Prof. Fatiha, and Huda, my ex-PhD student. We worked on a mini research. It's a mini research, which is something perhaps later on you may want to extend it and see to what extent it actually affects your teaching in your field or in your area or even in your school. Right, enter. Okay, so the introduction. So I'm looking at humanistic learning approach. Okay, so when I look at this idea has been actually emerged, introduced by scholars like Erikson, Roger, Maslow, and it began to permeate into the teaching and learning in the early 1970s. The emphasis is on why did they actually move in? Because they were not too happy with their behaviorism. Maybe I should go back and then take it one at a time, yeah? Sorry, I'm not so familiar with this, that's the reason why. Everything's in French. Sorry. Where is the enter sign? This one? Okay. All right, so here you go. No, I should go back. Where do I go back? Back. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry. Still learning your French. All right. So they were not happy in the second one. They were not happy with the psychoanalysis and the behaviorists who talked, and they talked a lot about it being very negative, and they overlooked the cognitive part of it, underestimated the influence of affection, right? And the influence of it on the aspects of being human. So taking this perspective, they looked at learning environment that emphasized emotional values, warmth, empathy, producing positive vibes in a learning environment. And it talks about the fundamental responsibility of a whole person in the process of learning, not just one aspect of mere cognitive or emotional. So you're looking at a whole aspect. Okay. So it talks about interaction. Miliani, you talked about it, yeah? Prof. Miliani talked about interaction in the online environment. So this is where humanistic approach is looking at. Are there or is there interaction that's taking place between the educators and the students on the online environment? What is your take on it? How many of you think there isn't? 1, 2, only? The rest of you? 3? Repeat the question. How many of you think there is no interaction between teachers and students in the online learning environment? Ah, interesting. And the ones who think there is? Ah, minority. Okay. Let's see whether my results show that or not. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we talk about interaction. we assume, right? We talk about a lot about learning. Teachers' role as, even in the conventional classroom, we talk about facilitating. We are always facilitating. We scaffold, all right? And we get the students to think, to reflect on themselves, to express their thoughts, creativity, and critical thinking. So these are things, when we do interaction, we are looking at these aspects. And we think, with all, majority of you think that there is no interaction, you presume that this is not happening. Am I right or wrong? Okay. I think we must have slept on the same side of the, woke up on the same side of the bed when we thought about the topic. Okay, because we gel well in this area. So it emphasizes on students' feelings and needs. All right, we look at humanistic educators. Is there humanism in this whole learning environment? We look at how we deliver knowledge, how we foster conducive social and affective environment. Affective, all right? Is there this whole person that we are creating? The psychological safety. We say we create an environment. Is it safe for students psychologically, emotionally? Is it? All right? And we look about self-actualization of needs. Students are open-minded. Are we concerned with this? Personal development, self-acceptance, or accepting others in this online environment. Okay? We want to make students more and more human. Okay? Is this happening? So we look at this author, and he talks about identity building. And he says is dialogical. Dialogical means a lot of talk, right? Reflective, thinking about it, the process that occurs in a social learning environment. We talk a lot, right, when we interact with each other. Even before the conference, the chairperson had to stop everyone. Settle down, because we're all very dialectical. All right? He talks about democratic, okay, being democratic in the world. And he also talks about whether it mediates this presence of humanism in this whole environment. So we did a little research, like I said, and we have 5 main research questions. So we looked at whether humanistic learning types is evident in this environment, whether there's a significant difference in these types, and what are the students' perceptions of these types. Okay, we looked at these 3 in terms of the types, and we looked at whether males and females perceived the types differently, and whether there's a significant difference to this. And we also looked at institutions. So we had some participants that were from the training institutions and versus the students from the university. It's a very small research, okay? And again, we looked at whether there's a difference. It should be between the institutions, postgrad and undergrad, because we had students from these 2 fields, and we looked at whether there was any significant difference as well. So basically, we looked at the types, and then the variables were gender, institutions, and the learning levels. The methodology involved, it was, we used an online questionnaire, because this was just after we wanted to get students to respond in an online learning environment. We looked at the background, and these are the 4 learning types: autonomous, reflective, dialogical, and democratic, and it's adapted from 2 different authors. We did a reliability test on the questionnaire that we designed, and with a high Cronbach value of 8.92. So it's a very reliable instrument. Participants, small, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so perhaps if you're interested, you could extend this and do it, use our instruments and try it out with your environment in your school or your across other institutions. So we looked at gender. It's not compatible with my laptop. Okay, sorry. Later you will see that anyway. So we have institutions, small proportion of university students, only 26, and majority were from the trading institute. Okay. So I looked at the levels, postgrad and undergrad, and I don't know which is which now because it's not compatible, sorry. Okay. But I have majority of them are under the UG. So the results based on the findings, this is the first research question. What types of learning, humanistic learning types are evident in the online learning environment? Here you go. All 4 are present. Okay, you have the reflective, you have the dialogical. Obviously the dialogical is slightly lower, and the other 3 are pretty similar. So you find that all 4 learning types are present in your online learning environment. It is. Okay, this is the student's perception. So when I asked you guys, it was the teacher's perspective. So now you're listening it from the student's perspective, and the students say, yes, there is. Lesser for one, relatively the same for the other 3. So when I looked at whether there was a significant difference, no. The one in blue, the 2-tail significant, no significant difference in the 4, even though the value is slightly different, but obviously the students feel that the 4 learning types are present. Okay. And I looked at each of these types, the items that we asked. Okay. So on reflective, the mean is 3.07. You find that students say, yes, I can reflect on my own learning process. Right? You don't realize this. Students do. They can. And it's the highest mean, 3.23. The lowest is I'm involved in meaning making and expressing moral values. So in between you have all the others. I'm not going to read that part of it. Okay? So surprise, surprise, surprise. Reflective learning. And then you have dialogical learning. I can analyze and compare different perspectives. Okay, the students are saying they can do that without you realizing that you are doing it. Right? And the lowest is I analyze the social, cultural, political power relationship. I guess that is depending on the topic, on what you're doing. Okay. I can communicate openly with other students. Close to 3, 2.97. Yeah, so it goes back on how you teachers, how we deliver our lessons. I did online learning, very interactive. You can do it. Democratic learning. I can stand for my own learning, autonomy, critical thinking, and action. 3.66. I'm involved in enlarging humanity, mankind, building democracy. I guess that's in another environment altogether, is low. Autonomous learning. I understand that I am responsible for my own learning. They know. Okay? I carry out self-evaluation, self-monitoring of my own learning as well. If you see all the others, encourage, I'm independent, positive self-image, self-esteem, initiating learning, encouraged to be responsible, appreciated for my talent, not forced to take part in activities I'm not ready for. I express opinion, feelings, and emotions above 3 and above. I choose my own activities. Well, I guess in online learning, the students have to just follow whatever you tell them to do. There's not much option there. But this is present. Students do feel they are going through autonomous learning. They have the autonomy, and actually you have imparted that to them, okay, without realizing it. So I looked at whether females and male students had this different perception, and on this, okay, whether there's a significant difference, on whether there's a different perception. So there you go. You look at the values, there's not much difference. So obviously the male a little bit more than the girls, but they feel that all this learning, sorry, you can't see this here, but at the bottom is all the different types of learning, yeah? It's reflective, democratic. Let me see if you can see it here, yeah. Oh, you still can't see it. Okay. So you find that the male students slightly more than the girls, but it's about the same. It's still above 3. And so since there's slightly more, it will be obvious that there is no significant difference. So all the girls and the boys feel that they have all this learning taking place. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? No? You disagree? You think that the girls are more reflective, more independent, more democratic? Really? You think so? How many of you think so? Ah, no. Are you girls and you think that the boys do better than you? Almost equal. Okay. Yeah, that's why there's no significant difference. Yeah. Okay. Training institutions and universities. So training institutions will refer to your college teacher training. Yeah. Right. And some of the university students. So let's look at what they feel. Training teachers are in orange and the university is in blue. So the difference is only more in dialectical, so where the teachers give them room to talk, right? But in terms of autonomous learning, in terms of democratic learning, and in terms of reflective, it's very close. So it's where maybe, you know, postgrad students, you need to get them to talk more. So I presume that is the reason why at the university it's higher than the schools. I mean, in the training centers, training institute, sorry. So, despite slight difference, there's no significant difference. So in the university and in teacher training college, these 4 learning types are still prevalent. Undergraduates and postgraduates. How many of you teach postgraduate students? Okay. Undergraduates, the rest of you are undergraduate students? Okay, what do you think? Which one is more prominent? Reflective? Yes, no? Yes? Can I hear a yes or no? Yes? No? How many of you feel in your institution that undergraduates are in the online learning environment, yeah? Reflective learning takes place among the undergraduates, yes or no? No. Postgraduates? Yes? Okay. Ah, okay. Democratic learning. The freedom to learn. Yes, no? No. Yes.
The question is, have we experienced it?
Have you experienced it?
Completely or partly. And since these institutions are completely attached to the government, this may in a way impede the sense of democracy, the teaching and learning process.
Okay, even though I come from a private university, whether it's private or government, the teaching goes back to the teachers, right? It's back in your hands on whether you make it possible or not. So when you tell me that it is no, not so, so it's back to the ball is back on your court, whether you want to make that present or not, right? Because now you are all teachers, aren't you? Any students here? No. So one student. We have students. All students here. Okay. So what do you think? Do your teachers give you reflective learning? Do you have reflective learning in your environment, on your online learning? Yes. And your teachers are saying no. No? No? How many of you are students? Okay. Students, stand up. Oh, this is not supposed to be a keynote. I'm doing a workshop kind of thing. Okay, students. Okay, so you have educators, you can turn around and have a look. These are your real students. How many of you feel in the online learning environment that you went through, did you feel there was reflective learning? Yes or no? Yes. Hands up. Okay, so not everyone. Online. Yes, in the online classes. Okay. Do you get my question? Do you want to translate? I've got 5 minutes more. Okay. Okay. Think about it. All right? Think about it. Okay, again, there's not much difference in the postgraduate. All right, I'm going into my discussion here. So my findings, all right? So you guys, teachers' perspective obviously differs from the student's perspective. Okay, so there is a disconnect between what the teachers feel and what the students perceive. Okay, but what is very evident is in this online learning, among the 123 students, a very small case study kind of thing, students are saying, yes, you have created the 4 learning types. You have created humanistic approach in your teaching. You have, without you realizing it. Minimal difference, like you see in terms of mean, but more apparent is democratic learning. Dialogical learning in the overall is lesser. Okay, there is conducive learning. There is transfer of dependency from teacher to student. They feel it. Time to start talking. No significant difference in gender, type of institution, and learning level of study, postgrad and undergrad. Male students found it to be more apparent, probably because female students are, more individualistic, probably more shy, and may want to look at things not so openly. So you could research on this further. Okay. The institutions, dialogical, like I mentioned, is more apparent. It reflects on the relationship that is fostered. Are you fostering that relationship with your students? It's time for them to harness the power of talk, getting them to stimulate, extending their thinking, and advancing their learning and understanding. Postgraduate students recorded slightly higher mean scores in all these areas. Teachers need to understand the essence of humanistic learning in creating a safe, supportive, non-threatening environment. Students who stood up just now, do you think you have this safe, supportive, non-threatening environment in your online learning? Yes or no? Yes. Teachers, I'm sorry, not many put up their hands. So if you want to take up and adopt humanistic learning environment, then look at this again. Yeah? Imbue student, you talked about student-centered, right? Learning. Hand over the baton. You know what's a baton? When you go for, you do the relay and you pass that baton. Yeah, hand over the baton to the students. Let them take over. Okay? Let them take control of their own learning. The classroom now is student-centered. You talked about student-centered. He talks about creating a student-centeredness. Are we teachers releasing it? Are we teachers letting go of the control? You know the rein in a horse, the rein? Yeah, are we letting go of the rein? Are we letting or passing it over to the students? Take over. It's your time to learn. It's the work of the teachers in only facilitating, scaffolding. When I supervise my postgrad students, I never give them answers. I give them questions to think. They'll never get answers from me. One question will follow with another question. Okay? That's how I do. Critical thinking. Don't expect spoon feeding. So he talks about no teacher-centeredness.
Professor Bava?
Yeah, I'm done. Facilitating. All right, teachers, 21st environment, create and facilitate in the blended learning environment. Okay, these are the two. And I would like to thank the sponsor, Director of the Institute National de Management. Did I get that correct? He's not here. Please thank him for me for sponsoring my trip. It's a pleasure meeting all of you, and this is my email address. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bava, for your presentation, for your intriguing findings, and for the unusual keynote talk form. It's funny because we are in the middle of a serious concern involving the 5-year cohort, because they have an online course and they are complaining about the fact that they are not being taken into account.
Okay.
Yeah, their needs are not being taken into account. They are not. They don't have opportunities to ask questions. They don't have the same safe environment they used to. They're used to in traditional classes.
Right.
This is the only online course they have. Okay. So I was quite flabbergasted when I saw some of them saying it's reflective, it's democratic, it's while actually we're trying to solve a problem which says exactly the opposite of what they seem to believe. And that's a question also probably that can be discussed in the debate. This is a study that explores students' assumptions and beliefs.
Right.
Does that really conform to reality? I don't know. Many studies, for instance, I'm speaking, from as a teacher of cultural studies, studies on racism, and with respondents who believe they are not racist, findings show that they are, but they are not aware of the fact that they are racist.
Okay.
So I believe that some people believe that their environment, they are reflective students, but actually they are not.
Okay.
I think maybe there are other tools to measure how reflective,
right.
democratic this and that is.
Yeah.
And probably, maybe you don't know the population.
Yeah.
We're not very much involved in online courses.
Correct.
As far as our students are concerned, they have one online course, and that actually is just the maybe just 1 or 2 years, not all the classes. So I think that we really need to have comprehensive data to really form an opinion about what the situation here in the country. Thank you very much, Professor. And now we move to the last